敵か味方か
We all fight for something. It's gonna change the world.
They've got a power and a force that you've never seen before. They've got the ability to morph and to even up the score. No one can ever take them down. The power lies on their side. No one can ever take them down. The power lies on their side. They know the fate of the world is lying in their hands.
Hello everyone and welcome to another PodCATS. Tonight we are talking about underutilized black characters in comics. We all know those characters. Our favorite black characters that we see for one issue and never to be seen again, or they have so much potential and the writers just write them right into a hole. We have our picks. We're going to discuss them. We're going to dissect them, and hopefully we'll put them back together and put them where they belong. Starting with Shawn. Shawn, what do you think? What character do you have in mind as being underutilized and is black?
Well, I have to say Night Thrasher. That's my pick for tonight.
Okay,
Wait.
for those who don't know who Night Thrasher is,
Let's give it a
because he's an
little
underutilized black character.
A little synopsis of Night Thrasher.
Night Thrasher was the leader of a group back in the '90s.
The Warrior.
Called the Warriors, and he pretty much was the angry black man, right?
Mhm.
But what I had liked about Night Thrasher was that, and the New Warriors in general, was that he was taking classic concepts but doing it from more of a street level. So his parents were killed. It's kind of actually similar to Batman's origins. His parents were killed when he was very young in front of him. He couldn't quite remember the deaths, but he was traumatized by it, and he trained himself to be this vigilante. And I think he inherited a fortune, I think, from his father's death. And he had money, and he had all the best tutors that money could buy, as far as education, as far as physical training. And the one thing, of course, that every vigilante needs that doesn't have powers, you need that anger to fuel you, to keep you training beyond the point of a superhuman. So that's what he did, and then he realized that he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it alone. He had bigger plans. He wanted to emulate the Fantastic Four. He was a master strategist. So his eyes, the Fantastic Four was the perfect number. So I think at first he wanted Nova, Namorita. He approached a couple of people. I think he approached Nova, Namorita, and I think Firestar. I think, but then through some incidences, other people joined, and turned into the Warriors. But the reason I like him, like I said, that he was young. He was it was one of the first black characters that I was really aware of that was making an impact. And he was the leader of the team. Whereas a lot of times the black guys in the background somewhere, and he was vicious. Oh, and the best thing, how could I forget? He was modeled after a ninja. Like his look, his martial arts ability was more towards ninjutsu. And at the time, I don't think I kept this a secret. At the time, I thought ninjas were real and were gods among men. And I'm going to become a ninja. So
Mm.
that's why I loved him. But
Live the
throughout the
dream.
years, the reason that I think he's underutilized is that throughout the years is that gets old. The angry black man, and after a while, I guess they didn't know what to do with him, and the New Warriors in general, they just defecated all over the New Warriors with that whole Stanfield, Connecticut thing. But there was a reason for the whole Civil War. Um, and they turned it into a joke. Like the actual last miniseries, it was actually supposed to be like comical or something, and there was all these lackluster D-list heroes that was part of the New Warriors, and then they made they were the cause for the explosion that killed like a whole bunch of people in Stanford, and got with the catalyst for the Secret Wars. So sorry for Civil War. So after that, I think they tried to bring him back. They tried to I think he had died, and they tried to resurrect him, and there was this whole it was just lackluster. But the character is Song. He went through a lot. He's the leader of a team. He has money. He's got a vision, and I think they could do more with him if they tried.
Well, he was just okay, I guess. I
Well,
I I mean
Wow.
I had that first issue. I had the night I had his first issue, the black and red cover foil cover. I had that, and it wasn't really that impressive. I mean, he always reminded me of a skateboarder, and the full armor and the armor was not effective because it had spaces in it around his neck and stuff. They just had on a helmet. They didn't really protect his. That's why I guess it was a little too analytical in a way. But it was just looking at it and just dissecting what was everything that was wrong with it. He reminded me of Daredevil a little bit because he had the two batons. Um, but then the batons used to be like I don't know how the police batons. It was similar to that. There's a particular name for that.
Billy Clubs?
It's Billy Clubs. The one that
Well, the
attached.
Cali Sticks.
Yeah, I think that is it. Yeah, I think it's that, and it was cool. The character was cool. Um, he didn't get that limelight that he needed. I always thought he was always aggressive and always train hard to pull together a team that was that was a little bit like mismatched because it had I think it was Marvel Boy was in it, and that's the guy that became Captain America in the future, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the team never came together. They were never even they were not even close coordinated. It was like the key. I don't know what happened. And I guess that, as you said, that the last draw is when Speedball was a part of that whole death, and it was just they just set up the team to fail. It was like he was trying so hard, and it was nothing was wrong. Then he had issues with his family, and I like how they dealt with the issues in terms of it was like real life issues like drugs and people getting shot and things. But again, it could be stereotypical because it was always some black person getting shoot in the shootout and using drugs and different things. But it was okay.
Well, here's the thing, Seth. Going back to what you said, he was a skateboarder. That's where the name Thrasher had came from. And she gave him a skateboard, and then the first few appearances, I think he appeared in Thor, and he had to fight the Juggernaut, and he had it was horrible. But
No, no, no. A guy on a skateboard is not ridiculous. When you got Silver Surfer and Black Racer.
Hey, excuse me. Silver Surfer can do no wrong.
You know,
No,
you
that's
need to
what
get
I'm saying.
some.
We got like a skateboard for like an accessory, and you got characters like Silver Surfer and
No,
Black
it's not the
Racer.
same. It's not the same thing.
You know, Silver Surfer doesn't need that surfboard anymore.
that's
It's
true.
just cool.
I mean,
You
seriously.
need it to hang 10 around Uranus.
Wow,
Whoa.
wow.
Great.
Okay.
All
Well,
right. All right.
good night, folks. That's all.
Yeah.
It was yeah, but he was modeled after a skateboarder. They gave him a skateboard that he could use as like a shield, stuff like that. But that was for his time. That was in the '90s. So it is what it is. But what I really liked about him, like I said, was that he was no nonsense. He was very tactical. He Nova, what was his name? Richard Rider at the time.
Yeah.
He had lost his powers, and Night Thrasher threw him off a roof as a way to ignite his powers again. Like, he could have died, but he said, hey, it was a gamble. Like, that's the kind of person he's dealing with. But somebody like that, I think, is necessary in a world with like Thanos's and Doctor Dooms and stuff like that.
The guy that will press the button.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You need that guy. Or
Pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Like Batman.
Which he had a gun too. It was, and they separated him from the Batman route, where I think it was a big crossover between Spider-Man and Moon Knight and Punisher and those guys. And like Thrasher fought the Punisher, and he rip out a Uzi from the backpack. You know what I mean? Like, that was unheard of at that time, to like have a hero using a gun shooting at another.
Thrasher fought the Punisher and he lived.
Yeah, it was a good.
Well, a lot of people have fought the Punisher and lived. Fought being the operative word, Alright, so we dealt with Night Thrasher, so who's next?
That's my pick.
Troy, you're next up.
Well,
Do you
I
have?
was going to mention Mr. Terrific, but you know what?
What?
Firestorm, the nuclear man.
Uh-huh.
He's a little confusing though, but go ahead.
It's two guys in one.
Yeah,
Not really, but I mean, pretty much, Firestorm to me is just like the Flash, written to be a god, and then never ever really shown his full potential properly in either comics, and definitely not in the animated medium.
Firestorm. The guy could create anything. Right, that's his power. He could create anything, right?
Yeah, he
Any
can
material.
manipulate. He can manipulate any. Well, I gotta check and
Inanimate
see if
matter.
this still stands, but it was supposed to be anything inorganic.
Yeah, he can manipulate the molecular structure of anything to create anything, basically. So he's like his own philosophy.
Anything inorganic.
Anything inorganic. So he can't turn people into wood.
Darn
He
it.
can only turn, like, let's say, a pencil into gold. And
So
make
will
stuff
his
out of
powers
thin air.
work on Colossus?
Yes.
Yes.
So he could turn Colossus into what? A puddle?
Yes. Probably.
He could. I think what he could most likely do is
He rearranged
make him revert. He could probably make him revert, or just turn his armor into carbon.
Yeah, because let's say he needs to make water, but there's no oxygen or hydrogen in the air. He can't create it. It has to be like innate in the atmosphere that he could actually manipulate. He can't really create something from nothing.
Okay.
But it looks like that. It looks like he's creating stuff out of thin air.
So he will probably mess
Oh no!
up.
As long as he has atoms, he can make it.
So he will
Yeah.
probably mess up Colossus. Real good.
Yeah, as long as he has atoms, he can, and plus with how strong he is, Colossus wouldn't be much of a threat.
You mean he has super strength as well?
Yeah, and he can fly too.
He can live in the vacuum of space, manipulate
Can he
stuff.
talk in the vacuum of space?
In the comics, yes. In real life,
Yes.
no. But then again, we're talking about a guy that can manipulate molecules and atoms and subatomic structures. Yeah, but you were telling me about Firestorm.
Yeah. Basically, I encountered Firestorm as a young man. Older friend of my mom's had just a comic about him fighting. Oh man, he's a shaman and he wears a black bison head as a. I think it's called Black Bison.
Black Bison.
Yeah.
Wow, how original of Black.
Leave that all out. Let's sit on the round table, guys. We gotta get a name for this guy. What he does?
Mhm.
He's a shaman and he wears a bison, sir.
Mhm. Is he black?
I've got it. Sparkles the Wonder Dog.
That's it.
To clarify, the Firestorm we're talking about is like the second gen Firestorm, not the first gen.
No, I mean the second.
That's the one
gen.
that's in the new 52 right now.
Yeah. He was
But
also
still.
before the new 52, but he was slightly different.
Still
He has
terrible.
his own run of comics, right? Too, right?
No,
Yes.
it got canceled, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. He was one of the failures that went the same route as the Mr. Terrific
Yeah, but I think the
replace,
problem
like,
with Firestorm when they brought him out is that the black character, because like I said, Firestorm is basically two people fused to create one character, and the black version of it, no, he was kind of like really pompous and like I wouldn't say racist, but like he was like so prejudiced in his mind that it was hard to like that character. If you get what I'm saying, I don't know if you read the New 52 Firestorm Troy, but he was very unlikable.
I didn't read much of his new run. The
Yeah, well,
Firestorm I dealt with
picked up
was
I
the
picked
old
up
one.
I picked up the New 52s when they first came out, like the first 2 or 3 issues, and like the jock, which is I can't remember Ryan or Ronald, I can't remember his name, but he was just like the jock, the quarterback, whatever, and the black character Jason. He's just like dogging on the map just because he's popular and he's successful and whatever else, and it's kind of hard to like a character that is just whiny and like nagging for no good reason. And when he's in the Firestorm form, he can't shut up and give guy instructions and always complaining and nagging. He's like an A type personality.
But why do you think they never took the character and took it to the heights that it could go to? I mean, why make him so unlikable? Why depower him?
I think that's the same problem with a lot of godlike characters like
Not all.
Captain Atom.
Not all.
The problems we're having with Silver Surfer trying to maintain a comic that has their name and their title running. It's the same thing with complaints with Superman being so all powerful, trying to get conflict into the story. And the problem is that they're pushing so much conflict between these two characters that it becomes, overbearing.
I don't want to say it because I suppose every single person in the Cat universe knows that I'm not exactly a huge fan of how Superman is built and written.
Mm-hmm.
But does it sometimes seem like as long as you are going to share the spotlight with Superman, you can't be his equal in power?
Yes.
I don't want to be the one to bring it up, but I'm only bringing up Superman to say I wonder if that's one of the reasons why he's been underutilized now in the present. I know in the past
he's a Deus Ex Machina.
In the past too, Firestorm was also taken as a joke. Like I remember in the same comic that I'm talking about, he turned the Statue of Liberty into a inflatable, one of those inflatable punch dolls that you punch and it comes back upright.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it has to do with the writing, but I think his power set is so vast that he's like a Deus Ex Machina that it's kind of hard to create stories where he can't just poof, snap his fingers and get out of a situation. Stuff like
why
Spectre,
not take the Silver Surfer route and take him away from Earth? Then let him face bigger threats.
Well, that's not for me to do. That's for the writers to do.
But then, so why don't he just do that thing? Like poof from it and make everything
because the organic clause, you can't change anything not organic.
Who's your pick, Seth?
Oh wait, hold on a second. Sorry. So wait, what's he doing now?
Firestorm?
Yeah.
Well, basically they're just having him as a background character.
Yeah.
So he's not very a prominent character in the DC universe. So he's just there for being their sake, because we have this character we gotta use because we're contractually obligated to have him there, because
Black people in comics are truly the minority right now. It's true. It's like the whole world is just Caucasians, and the black people when they pop up, whatever. But it's a little daunting and strange to see that. And what I'm seeing is that the writers, for some reason, cannot write a decent black man. he's either macho,
Hmm.
he's either like pompous, um, full of himself, you know,
Black Dynamite.
everything, all the characteristics are negative in the black community, are things that people would not want to promote, like so so what we're seeing is just this. We are not seeing a black person as a black person, because to tell the truth, the way that all of our lives and things intermingle, it's not that if a black person behaves one way and a white person behaves another way. All of us behave the same way. So why can't they do that in the comics? Like, just, we don't have to have a character that he's from the ghetto. We don't have to have a
Mhm.
character that he's a sellout. We don't have to have a character that we just need a character that we could relate to as a black character.
Hmm. Although have like a certain template, but you can have like the jokester, like Spider-Man. Spider-Man's kind of like the jokester. You can have like the intelligent one. You could have like the superhero struggling, the superhero who's like struggling with their powers, or like in their regular life or whatever else.
But
You can
but
have
but
like
Fabian,
the idealist. You can have like the idealist guy that comes out there. But all of them tend to have like all a certain template.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Fabian, but why it has to be like that? Like, if we check
It doesn't have to be. That's the thing. It has to do with the writers, and I'm not saying that um writers can't write a good black character, but I think that when we're talking about again like gay characters, that sort of stuff, if you approach it, this character is gay, then you kind of like dig your own grave in terms of writing for that character, because he has or she has to be gay, so you gotta write gay things. So like if they wrote a character who happens to be black rather than a black character, I think we would have more success stories than we do now. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
mm, it makes sense. So who's next up?
I agree.
Fabian, you got your character?
Yeah, my character is actually John Henry Irons Steel. Um, there's no secret that I'm a big huge Superman fan, and obviously the death of there's no
I get
I was
some.
around when the death of Superman occurred, and obviously that was like my father had died. Like, oh my goodness, Superman's dead. Uh, and from that came this character John Henry Irons, and in the first issue, this guy, this big huge like Shaq character comes out, and he's like ripped. He's like very very muscular, and he's basically an everyday Joe living in like the inner city of Metropolis, where there's like a gang problem, there's drugs and that sort of stuff. But he's trying to be like the beacon in that neighborhood, and he doesn't have superpowers. He's not a millionaire. He's just a guy trying to do the right thing, and that's what persuaded him to become Steel. Because when we go into his backstory now, he's an intelligent character who was designing, I guess, non-lethal weapons for the military, and they obviously sold it and turned it into lethal weapons, and he was ashamed of that. That his inventions led to other people dying, so he goes into hiding, becomes a construction worker, gets saved by Superman, and inspired to make something of his life. So when Superman dies, he creates this suit of armor in his basement of his apartment building, and he starts fighting crime. He starts fighting gangsters. He starts fighting the arms trade, drugs, and that sort of stuff. So it was like a regular Joe with no superpowers, no wealth behind him, could still be a Superman kind of a person. And that what made him interesting is that he had his sin to atone for. That the reason there was so much killing on the streets and everything is so impoverished is because of him. So he was responsible for the issues that he was fighting, the problems, and that's what he found great, because there was this guy, regular Joe, who was able to become a Superman-like character, and that's what attracted me to characters like David Zambivi, the original Batwing. Again, a character who's not like rich or whatever. He's an ordinary guy. He's a policeman in Africa who becomes the Batman of Africa, of the Congo. And he has his own backstory of he being a child soldier and atoning for his sins. and you have characters again. All of it is again. I'm trying to summate in like what attracts me to these black characters. You had a character who's not in the comic books, but there's a movie Meteor Man. I don't know if anybody watched that Meteor Man.
Mhm.
Again, a substitute teacher living in an impoverished neighborhood. Crime, drugs, violence, guns, everything you could possibly imagine gets hit by meteor, gets superpowers, and he decides to use those powers for good and changes his entire neighborhood at the end of the movie. Everything is, sunshine and rainbows, but his journey there, his journey there was both fun and entertaining and heartfelt. And he had a struggle with being a coward and like, living and being powerless and now becoming this superhero and not like taking it for granted or like, using it for personal gains. So that's what attracted me to these black characters because a lot of the other superheroes weren't doing that, or any other superheroes weren't in that same mold of having a tragic backstory plus an average Joe who becomes this Superman. Tony Stark, yeah, he created weapons, but he was a rich millionaire who's an alcoholic. I can't relate to that because I'm not rich, I'm not white, and I don't like, have his luxuries. But again, John Henry Irons, who again is based on the American folk legend John Henry, who
Mhm.
defeated a machine, the story, and like he gave his life to show that man is better than machine, that whole ideology and stuff. I found that they really underutilized him once Superman came back. He had to give him his own series, and he moved to Washington D.C. and he dealt with the same stuff. But after a while, he just falls into obscurity and only shows up in Superman comics. Gives Superman a helping hand, whenever he can. And he's not really. I can see why people could look at him like a War Machine clone or Iron Man clone or even a Thor clone with his hammer. But if you really delve into the essence of the character, he's completely unique in that sort of way. Same thing with how Night Thrasher is completely unique in his sort of way from characters like Shadow Hawk and all the other vigilantes that used to come out of the 90s. So that is why I like John Henry Irons and what they did with the New 52. They kind of rehashed that, but again, they just like brought him in Superman, and you only see him whenever he's really needed. So he hasn't really starred in anything, and I think that character is so ripe for development, and he just falls into obscurity. So I think DC should really get with the program and make him a starring character somewhere.
You know
Sorry for
what?
rambling on.
You know what we could do too, but I was
Now, here's,
suggesting
here's my
after.
thing. Yeah. Is characters like that underutilized on purpose?
I
Like, I mean,
don't think they're
almost
underutilized on
because
purpose because they were created. Huh?
Wait, hold on, Fabian. Let me take it home. Right? Let the bombshell get in there. Because the only point of him and Superboy and all these other things was the sell comics. You had the Death of Superman, which made $1 kajillion, and then they introduced other Supermen, and then it was this whole mystery of like who is this really Superman and is that Superman and all this nonsense. But it was just for the fact of creating these books to sell more money to benefit off the death of Superman. But then when Superman came back, there's no real need for John Henry Irons. Like
Well,
he's a derivative character.
But look at it. After the death of Superman came back and whatever else. You have Superboy. Superboy had his own comic book, and he had his giant story arc with him and the Teen Titans, and he fell in love with Wonder Girl, and they got married, and he gave his life in Infinite Crisis, and Robin Hart was his bromance with Robin, was broken, and he tried to bring him back and clone him, and he's back in the New 52. Him being like before the New 52, he was the son of Lex Luthor and Superman, and him struggling to deal with his parentage and that sort of stuff. And that character came from Death of Superman. Then you have Cyborg Superman, who then went on to star in Sinestro Court of War and his Vendetta and his great art. So you can't really say that when these other two characters who were created under the same circumstances became so prominent afterwards, and then you have this one character who just goes on a sideline. Yeah, they might have brought him in to be a showcase character, but they could have taken him and run with it like they did Superboy, like they did Cyborg Superman, like they did with Doomsday, like they did with all those other characters and other things. So I don't think that's an excuse for why he falls to the wayside. And again, Superboy, again, a character who came out of Death of Superman, starred in Young Justice. And you don't have any comics or TV shows starring John Henry Irons or, those kind of characters that often.
Well, you know what?
So Troy, you got anything to say about my man Steel?
I ain't touching that. Mm-mm. To be honest, when I looked at Steel, when I first encountered him, I didn't understand why he existed.
Hmm.
I don't know. It was like I saw this majestic guy, covered in armor with a red cape and the S. At first, I was confused. I remember as a child, I thought it was another version of Superman.
Hmm. Technically, it was.
Then I hear this is Steel. I'm like, never really understood why he was there. To be honest, up to now, I still don't.
Hmm. Mm.
Or I would talk about my character. My character is the mutant. You guys dealt mostly with the DC. I think Shawn touched a little bit of Marvel. Going back to Marvel here, I dealing with Bishop. Bishop is or was he had so much potential. At points in time, I thought this guy was going to become like the next Cyclops or the next Magneto or something. He went they really grasped the concept of a black character. I can remember he first came in the X-Men when he came from the future, and I mean he had his what's called those drop curls, what's called those there, Shawn?
I think it's called Jerry
Dreadlock?
Curls. That's what it looks.
Jerry curls. He had his drop curls, Jerry curl thing going on, and then later on, I guess the progression of how black people were portrayed in real life, it gradually changed. Like I guess I don't know if the 90s people used to had the hair straight in. I guess the rapper.
Who are we on to?
Bishop. So then he gradually got the different haircuts. I think he had locks at the point in time. He had.
You remember the
cornrows.
90s was an era where everything was supposed to be radical
Yes.
and
And everything was steroids.
But yeah, he was well done. I like the concept. I like his he had a lot to share of the X-Men. Like it was so when I was young, it was a little confusing. Like he came from the past, from the future, sorry, but he didn't really knowledgeable about the present. Like
That's
knew,
what happens when you don't read or go to the library.
yeah, it was like he didn't really know a lot, so it wasn't like he could like predict when certain things happen. Only when it was like the big arcs, like with Onslaught and stuff, he knew people was going to do this and knew that. But then with time travel, everything changes all the time. So he wasn't very effective as a time traveler. But the character was sound. I believe later on he was always a part of some kind of enforcement agency. He was the savior, security, enforcers. He was he joined the he was a mutant tone. He was an officer at a point in time. He was even working with one, the Sentinel program with the government, which to me he was one of the first sellouts to the government. I don't know Wolverine, but I learned topic. But
the hate.
so but he made the progression, and I mean like I could see he was even getting with Val Cooper, and it was like she was white, and he was like he was so smooth, and like he was with Storm too, and he even like brush off Storm at points in time. Like he was so goal oriented, and then everything just started going downhill when the well it started with the Sentinels, but when it was the 198 mutants on Earth, everything started going downhill because they took him from being for the mutants to wanting to control the mutants. And then I don't think the we were prepared for that. We didn't want to see the black man to be the token, like in slavery, the black guy that always used to be the voice of the master, but he was a black guy as well, and it was so strange that you will think that you are on the same level as the plantation owner, when truthfully you were just the token black guy. So then everything started going, changing the character thing. When Hope got involved, it just went that he just was this vendetta to just kill Hope, and then the whole traveling through time and Cable and killing Xavier accidentally. He was a character that was on his way, so he was like going like a rocket out the atmosphere, and then he realized that he didn't get the fuel tank a top up, and now all of a sudden crashes back to Earth. No, he's just in at force, and I don't know. So he had.
I'll tell you this though, Seth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. Done?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'll tell you this though. Not for lack of trying. I think they just never found the right formula for Bishop, but it wasn't for lack of trying. Like they tried to foresee. They did the street level thing, like when he was in Mutant X District. You know what I mean? Like he was a street level cop. Oh, I was saying they even tried to make it a villain at the end, but he killed Professor X and he was chasing Cable and Hope through the timelines. They try, but they just can't for some reason get the formula right.
I don't know why. For me now, Bishop, I am not that au fait with the character, but I know who he is and what he does, his powers, and how he got introduced. And I am not a proponent of time travel of any sort unless you are a Terminator or from the Resistance. I do not condone any form of time traveling whatsoever because it never ever turns out right, and Bishop is a clear example of this. When he goes back in time to try, he and Cable, when both of them go back in time to try to solve a problem, they ended up creating the problem or even making it worse. I do see how that character was degraded over time, and he like kind of like morphed into like this villain character hunting Hope and Cable through time, and it just became weird and bad when his stick was just a guy who's come from the future back to the future, like Marty McFly, trying to solve a problem. And that's whenever you really see Bishop. He's either trying to solve a time displacement problem. He's never really doing anything else. So he's like kind of like a one-trick pony kind of character. That's as far as my exposure to him. But I could see that something like that premise and that character could go for being a tortured mutant from a dystopian future, and him getting the M brand and what he symbolizes in terms of like the subjection of slaves / mutants in the future, how that could burden him. They don't really like flesh it out or like take it in his own direction. He's always doing, like I said, the whole time travel fixed time thing. So that's why, to me, he hasn't really like evolved beyond that stick.
What's he doing now, modern day?
Last I heard, he was
He's
possessed
at
by
force,
something.
right? Yeah, I think he was possessed by the demon bear in
Yeah,
X-Force.
Demon Bear. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that will explain why he's evil, kind of like how Hal Jordan wasn't evil, it was Parallax. Yes.
You mean
So
like
that's
whatever.
the way you could like justify it.
But we could all say that the characters that we talked about, they just need good writing. They just need people to go outside the box and try not to be this cookie cutter kind of stories that we all saw already. Just give us something new, give us something fresh, be adventurous,
But do the writers know what that is? I mean, we've highlighted how black characters, tend to have like this stereotypical persuasion, like the gruff, angry, tortured past kind of a character, or like they become too stereotypical where it becomes ridiculous, like Luke Cage and a lot of the early black characters. And I think the problem is that a lot of writers don't know how to write a black character. Yeah, I said that it's best to write a character who happens to be black, but you have to be empathize or sympathize with that character. It's like I can't remember who the writer is, but she's a female character. Sorry, a female comic book writer, and she could write anybody, male, female, whatever else. Not because she's a male or because she's a female, but she's able to engross herself in the characters and let them speak for themselves, let them become their own identity. And how you don't need to.
Wrote, Fabian?
She wrote Batgirl. She wrote Secret Six.
Talking about Gail Simone?
Yeah, Gail Simone, that's her. Yeah. So she knows, and you don't have to be gay to write a gay character. You don't have to be gay to write Batwoman or anything like that there. So it has, I don't think it has anything to do with the writers being black, the writers being female, or anything like that there. But I think a lot of them are unable to sync up with a character who happens to be black. Same to like Hispanic characters and like some Japanese and Asian characters, Chinese characters that comics have introduced that they mostly fall into the wayside or become caricatures or super stereotypes. They just don't know how to write them, and I'm not saying don't make the character. I'm just saying be a little bit more prudent with who you're giving the reins to write the character, because that's where it comes into. You could have any character. You could have Howard the Duck, Rocket Raccoon. You could have any character, but if you don't have a good storyteller, then it just falls apart and it's get canceled.
I agree with you, Fabian. I think it all comes down to, once again, the strength of the writer. I think a lot of times that what happens is that the comics it looked at as a inferior form of literature. A lot of people in comic books, they fall back on stereotypes, you know what I mean, and tropes to carry a comic book. So it's like, okay, we got this black character. Okay, what we gonna do? We're gonna have him saving only the people that live in the hood. There's no greater ideal behind it, and then they have to talk in a certain way or they have to fit a certain mold, and they go, you know what I mean? Like I wanna see a black character that listens to heavy metal and is maybe doesn't like
a little bit more optimistic would help too. Instead of these gruff, brooding.
It reflects the times. I mean, if you think about it, Hardware, how brooding and angry he was, and even if you look at how the character was created and drawn, it's kind of once again still a reflection that it was the 90s. Yes, the civil rights movement and everything had settled down a long time ago, but we were now coming into our own. And now, if you look now all of a sudden we're settled in quotes in terms of equality, and now you're seeing a lot more black characters coming onto the screen. It reflects the times.
Yeah, it certainly does, especially in the movies. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
So guys, let us anything you want to say to wrap up?
All of us have pretty chauvinistically highlighted black male characters, but I would just like to highlight some black female characters, so that we don't look all sexist and stuff. Some of them included Vixen. Vixen was one of the first black characters. Amanda Waller, who was a great character too. Amanda Waller. There is Rocket. Many of her might know her from Young Justice. Yeah, the second season of Young Justice. Storm, obviously a big highlight there.
Fabian. Real quick. I'm going to throw a curveball out there. I'm going to say Storm. I don't think she's been pushed to the full potential of what she could be.
Well, I think she has. I mean, she's the principal of the X Mansion. She's running her own comic.
She's the principal. She gave Logan the business.
Come on, man. Exactly. They treated relationship with her and Panther like a joke. Now she's sleeping around with all kind of people. You know, they got the same power
She
set.
helps her.
She could do so much, but then it's like, oh wait, I'm sorry, she fell into an elevator shaft accidentally, so now she can't use her powers. It's ridiculous. She could do more than they have. They could be more depth to her character than they
Yeah,
show.
but overall, I think she's made more strides than any other character. Yeah. Another one is Misty Knight. A lot of people don't know this character is like a black afro-headed lady who gets her a cybernetic arm. She was prominent in Fearless Defenders,
Oh,
and I think
Misty Knight.
yeah, Misty Knight. Yeah.
We had someone cosplay her at the last.
That's Erica cosplay her.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. But not a lot of people would know these female characters are some of these black characters as well. So I just wanted to like put it out there, like so that we don't get any hate mail like, oh, you talk only about male black men. So
It's a man's world, Fabian.
Man's world.
all right. So anything else you gotta say, guys?
I think
Yeah.
we said it all.
Yeah, I think we started a lawsuit,
Well,
so we're
you know,
good to
just to
go.
sum it up, on the utilizing black characters, I just think that it comes down to, I think creators shouldn't be so scared to write black characters, or like that's taboo, or you have to get a black person to write it. I would personally like writers to be a little more fearless. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Sean. I agree with Sean. So, on that note, you could check us out on Facebook, Comics Appreciation Team. Look for us on the web at comicsappreciationteam.com. Subscribe. So, on that note, I'd like to thank Sean, Troy, and Fabian, and we will see you guys soon with a continuation of this said show, going deeper into the black characters and how Hollywood is seeing it.